For Bitcoin, nonetheless, we expect Bitcoin to hit 200,000 next year, driven by a bunch of different catalysts, continued adoption from institutions via growth of these ETFs. We think more and more corporations will start buying Bitcoin. We're already seeing signs of corporations leaning into the mini MicroStrategy model over the past few weeks and months. Now, if governments start buying Bitcoin, everyone's talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We think if governments start to buy Bitcoin, we could see that 200,000 price target become 500,000 or more.
We're looking at Ethereum to trade up to $7,000. I think it may take an eye towards $10,000. My view on ETH is it has both actual momentum and sort of catch-up momentum built into it, which you're starting to see over the last few weeks. We think the market has somewhat overlooked the strong progress we've seen in the ETH ecosystem, particularly the growth in activity on the layer 2 networks. And it's going to come back.
Bitcoin could reach $500,000 and Ethereum $10,000 next year as crypto adoption accelerates, predicts Bitwise CIO Matt Hoogan and head of research Ryan Rasmussen. Institutional interest, the rise of ETFs, and corporate adoption could drive Bitcoin to $200,000. If governments adopt Bitcoin as part of their systems, the price may soar to $500,000. Ethereum's ecosystem is also gaining momentum, with prices projected between $7,000 and $10,000. Advancements in Layer 2 solutions have enhanced transaction speed and cost efficiency, fueling network activity. Stay tuned as Matt and Ryan reveal more insights into the future of crypto. Also, if you enjoy listening to crypto-related content, please show your support by liking and subscribing to this channel by following the link in my bio, and get access to my free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox. Each update contains on-chain data, forecasts and expert predictions. All of this is available free of charge. It only takes a moment to sign up and you can always change your mind later. Now back over to Matt and Ryan.
I'm excited to talk about this. This was a big debate at the team at Bitwise. Where do we land for our price targets for 2025? And the big three, I think, is a really great way to put it here or the Mag 3 is a really great way to put it here for crypto. First, of course, you have to start with Bitcoin price predictions. I think this one's a little bit funky in the sense that our estimate of 200,000 might be on the lower end of a lot of the price predictions out there for next year. But that's kind of...
For Bitcoin, to be clear, not Ethereum. Not
for Bitcoin, it's 200,000.
We love our Ethereum, so you know.
We'll get to Ethereum.
Okay.
I would love to see 200,000 Ethereum. I don't think our compliance team would be happy if I came out here and said that was going to happen. But for Bitcoin, nonetheless, we expect Bitcoin to hit 200,000 next year, driven by a bunch of different catalysts, continued adoption from institutions via growth of these ETFs. We think more and more corporations will start buying Bitcoin. We're already seeing signs of corporations leaning into the mini MicroStrategy model over the past few weeks and months. Now, if governments start buying Bitcoin, everyone's talking about a strategic Bitcoin reserve. We think if governments start to buy Bitcoin, we could see that 200,000 price target become 500,000 or more pretty quickly. So we're really excited about what Bitcoin could do from here. Matt, you want to take Ethereum?
Sure. Yeah. I also feel like our Ethereum price target is conservative. So, we're looking at Ethereum to trade up to $7,000. I think it may take an eye towards $10,000. My view on ETH is it has both actual momentum and sort of catch-up momentum built into it, which you're starting to see over the last few weeks. We think the market has somewhat overlooked the strong progress we've seen in the ETH ecosystem, particularly the growth in activity on the layer 2 networks. And it's going to come back to it. We see it as almost a contrarian bet. So I don't know if Bitcoin or Ethereum is more sort of understated in terms of where we think these prices are going, but I feel pretty confident about both of them. I mean, look, I think that's about right. I will say last year, Bitcoin was trading at about $40,000. We only had a Bitcoin price target. We said it would get to 80, and that turned out to be too pessimistic. We'll see where it ends the year, but certainly above 80. I think, particularly to the first two price targets, the thing about Bitcoin, once it gets above $100,000, is where would it stop? There's vastly more buying of Bitcoin than there is new Bitcoin produced at this moment. Corporations alone bought 250,000 Bitcoin last year, and it only produces about 170,000 Bitcoin a year. So there's more demand than supply. That's before we get to ETFs or governments. It's been hitting price bubbles at all-time highs at $100,000 because those are levels where people will sell. Long-term holders will sell. Once you get above 100, who knows where long-term holders will sell? Will they sell at 150? Why? Would they sell at 200? Why? I think it could easily get to 250. I think, as Ryan mentioned, if there's a strategic Bitcoin reserve, you're talking about $500,000 Bitcoin. And for people who think that's crazy, you got to remember a few years ago, Bitcoin was at $3,000, right? And it ripped straight to 60. So you can have those kinds of returns. I feel something similar with ETH and $10,000. I think if ETH's narrative turns around and people look at the sort of massive growth of transaction activity on things like Base, or they look at what's going on at Starknet and other layer twos, and they get excited about this space and the growth, I think it could have a gravitational pull to $10,000. I don't know what Ryan thinks about that. At $10,000, I imagine there'll be a lot of long-term ETH holders who would be willing to sell, and that would be significant behavioral overhead. But once we get above new all-time highs, there's almost this price gap or this air gap until you get to the next behavioral sell level. And for ETH, that's $10,000. So I do think that is like a gravitational pull that we could see if we get a momentum above previous all-time highs and then good narrative. I could easily see it running up to 10 grand and then sitting there for a bit.
Yeah, I agree with Matt on that. I would just say a bit of how I feel about Ethereum this year is I feel it's kind of taking the spot of where Solana was heading into last year. Vibes in the Solana community had never been lower in end of 2022 coming into 2023. And then the narrative turned. Matt just spoke about if the narrative turns for Ethereum, what could possibly happen. And I think we're already seeing glimpses of that coming through over the past month or so. Ethereum's performed really well since the election. And I think if the the narrative for Ethereum continues to shift the way it has so far for the next month or 2 months, and we see price continue to gradually rise, I think it gets some of that Solana-esque momentum that Solana had last year for Ethereum in 2025. Now, it's not as big of an asset, so it probably won't have the same amount of impact on price as this narrative shift for Solana did, but I think Ethereum is really well set up for 2025.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to access my free daily crypto updates and expert predictions direct to your inbox.